Good morning. Welcome to another edition of 15 Minutes to Flame. This is Robert Phoenix broadcasting to you live from Flyover. What's happening out there? Another shooting and another just absolutely bizarre shooting took place yesterday in San Bruno, California. That is where YouTube is actually located. It is not on the peninsula like Google, its parent company. So I have a personal history with San Bruno. It's where, when I moved as a young lad from New Jersey to Millbrae, or actually California, I moved to San Bruno. I lived in San Bruno for the first 3 years of my life in California. It's a sleepy little town that is basically home to the San Francisco International Airport. That's what it's known for. Um, let's see, are any famous people from San Bruno? I think Suzanne Summers is from San Bruno. She went to high school with my aunt. They were friends, drinking buddies. So yeah, it happened in San Bruno, and just an absolutely bizarre scene from top to bottom, start to finish. So I found out about the shooting yesterday as I was cruising through the internet, and I posted it on Facebook, and 4chan had dumped a meme out there that the shooter was a bearded transgender. Well, the shooter theoretically was not as weird as a bearded transgender, but pretty weird. So I picked up on it and I said unconfirmed, right? Unconfirmed, twice in my post. And Google had picked up on it, and within probably about 20 minutes, it was all down. It was removed, and then the details emerged over the real shooter. I felt a little silly, to be honest with you, but I grabbed it from Henry Macau's site, and we live in such a strange time that why not? Anything could be possible, right? And I was dancing with that over on Facebook. Anyway, the thing that really stood out to me about this shooting, there are a couple things we'll talk about today in regards to the shooting, is the fact that I've been talking about two things over the last week. If you were listen to the streams with uh, any consistency, you'll know that I've been talking about, especially in my interview with Regina Meredith and on my website, I talked about where the next wave of chaos and destabilization was going to take place. It was going to be in the workplace. And just tracing and tracking what's happened since 2009 through the various houses of the bottom part of the chart. And as you can see now, these cycles are getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. The cycle that was basically between the crash of 2009, Occupy, and then BLM with a little bit of Sandy Hook and a few other high strange moments in time, Boston Marathon, etc. There's a big gap between basically Occupy and the second house, and then it's not a big, but it takes a while. It takes till 2012, essentially, February of 2012, and that's when Trayvon Martin is shot, and that's when it all starts. So we're looking at 3 years, roughly. And then we go from Trayvon Martin, which is 2012, and there's basically, if you think about this now in terms of time, it's a 4-year period. That is a 4-year period between 2012 and 2016 when, excuse me, Trump goes through the election cycle. And we begin to see a wind down of the police brutality, shooting, massacre, riot of the week variety. And we just had an event out in Sacramento, which I talked about. But that's a 4-year stretch, and a very intense 4-year stretch with things like Charleston, South Carolina, Roanoke, Virginia, Santa Barbara, a few other events that were, again, sort of tossed out there. But really, the main focus of destabilization was the black-white duality dynamic and the divide and conquer. So that lasted roughly 4 years. And that's a lot of time. 4 years is a lot of time to be hammering people again and again and again and again with the situation, with social inflammation. It's an extended period of time. I mean, that is a long tail, in my estimation, operation. Because if you look at the White House logs and you look at how many times D. Ray McKesson, who was one of the heads of Black Lives Matter, went to the White House to hang out with Obama, I think it was like 56 times, something like that. So there was a lot of planning going on. There was a lot of strategizing with BLM through the White House. And very few people talked about it. The press left it alone. It was one of those no-fly zones. 4 years is a very intense and focused. This is what their presidency. This is what the presidency was about. It was about destabilization, and we're still in that destabilization wave. The destabilization is happening both inside and outside the White House now for various reasons. And the same people that were engaged in destabilization during the time that Barack Obama was president are still engaged in destabilization. And there's a different kind of destabilization taking place inside the Trump White House as well. And here we are, we're kind of caught in the crosshairs. Okay, so then we go to the Me Too movement, which I talked about. And so the Black Lives Matter, black and white, divide and conquer, duality, that's all third house. It's Gemini's house. You go into Me Too, which is the feminine, the enraged feminine, and starting off with Harvey Weinstein. That's a very short cycle now. We're starting to get into shorter cycles. From 2009 to 2012, which is roughly the Occupy territory with a Sandy Hook and a Boston Marathon topper thrown in there. A little bit of Aurora, pinch of Aurora. Now we have, that's basically from 2009 to 2012, 3 years. Then we go from 2012 to 2016 with the intensification of the third house and the black-white paradigm, duality, divide and conquer. Then we have, after that, 2016, there's sort of we begin to sort of be in a decline after that. And then in November of 2017, this is when Me Too kicks into gear. Now, from Me Too to Parkland, that's the time between the fourth house, women, destabilization, to the fifth house, children, again, more destabilization. Very short period of time. Really short period of time. So we're talking basically from November to February. That's not very long at all. So do the math on that. What is that, 5 months? Not even. That's 4 months. You got 4 months of intense Me Tooification. Just all unspooling very quickly. And then we get to Parkland, and we see that Parkland happened on February 14th. And here we are, it's April 4th. So we're talking, what, 3 weeks now? Well, not even a month. Hold on. I'm sorry. I got to do my math. Not even 2 months. Not even 2 months. So the Parkland event, not even 2 months. And as I began to look at this, I said, well, the next thing that's going to happen is going to take place in the workplace. And we can start to see that a little bit. That's the sixth house. We saw it with this strange kind of weird bombing thing in Austin, which really was the tipping point in the FedEx office in San Antonio. And we began to see sort of the smatterings of discontent with a few strikes taking place, the teacher strike in Oklahoma, and then boom, yesterday we have the YouTube shooting in the workplace. So look at those cycles. Look how short. Look how short they are. And yet on yesterday's show, I said, look, they're going to need to have something to pull these kids kind of out of the fire. Now the kids, meaning that like uh, the hog posse, they'll chime in. They'll come in from the side, and then they'll say, "Here's another." Not only are we endangered by blah 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 in our schools, but look what's happening in the workplace. I mean, so they'll chime in. They'll come in at an angle. You'll have workplace advocates come in and talk about safety in the workplace. The end game here, from a financial perspective, is to put scanners and metal detectors in every public place, as many public places as possible. Now, that may be completely and utterly ridiculous or sound ridiculous to people. Like is the AMPM going to have a scanner out front? Maybe. That could actually happen, by the way. Could happen with the AMPM because they're a national chain, right? What about the mom and pop shop in town? Are they going to be able to afford a scanner? They may not have a choice. They may not have a choice. They may show up with a scanner and say, "Here you go. You're going to get billed for it. We'll send you a bill, and you'll just pay right into this, or we'll make it tax deductible." Who knows how they're going to figure this thing out? Or we'll add it on. But this is going to be the big economic push. There's going to be security scanners in the workplace. People said, well, she didn't have a badge. Okay, I don't want to get there yet because there's another piece I want to unfold here. And again, this is the speed at which things are happening. And I said yesterday that they're going to need another event because these kids are going to crack, and it's not going to be a school-related event. It'll be a workplace-related event. Right? Workplace-related event. What happened? What happened? It happened. It happened yesterday, right? So we're looking at the pattern. Now, the next notice on the pattern is the cycles are getting shorter. And to me, this is, on some level, it is alarming. On another level, it's actually quite good. Okay, and I'll tell you why. The alarming part, to me, signals that whatever has been happening, we're getting closer to some kind of end game that is looming at the event horizon. It's getting closer because these cycles are getting shorter. I mean, just look at it. You go from, it's like, we have this really elongated period to 2009 and 2000 and roughly 16, okay? Roughly. Because during the run-up of the election, and we're talking the summer of 2016, there wasn't, I mean, Black Lives Matter was out in force. They were at the conventions. Maybe they were, surrounding the whole Trump situation. But they had been mobilized to be directly engaged with the electoral process versus being engaged in an event where somebody from the inner city had been shot, lost their life, fill in the blank. They had been deployed in a different environment, and deployed is a word that is specific, okay? So roughly we're looking at, again, 2009 to 2012, which is the elongated crash, the Occupy us versus them, elite versus non-elite, 1% versus the 99%, them versus, you see it, right? That's it. Then we go to that really long, the second phase of Obama's presidency. Once he got the ACA and Obamacare out of the way, it was full-on Alinsky. It was the full-on Alinsky hyperdrive program. And that's what we got. We got that from 2012, starting with the death of Trayvon Martin, until roughly right around February of 2016. That's about a 4 year. That's 4 years. That's a 4 year period. 2009 to 2012. That's 3, 4, long cycle. So yeah, and then we go into during the election. There's enough chaos. There's plenty of chaos on a social level. You know, if you were living in the United States or you were outside the United States, clearly it was visible. There was chaos wherever Trump showed up. There were chaos at Hillary events. Usually Hillary was the chaos. And then we quickly, boom, we go into Me Too, and we go into the Parkland event, and that's a really short cycle. And from Parkland to what just happened yesterday is even shorter. So that, again, just recapping, that says to me that we are entering into a final phase here where the cards are going to be put on the table. They're pushing all in. There's going to be an all-in push moment. You have to ask yourself whether they're playing a short game or a long game. The short game is let's get into November, flip the House, get rid of Trump. I think that's probably part of it. That's part of the short game. That's part of that's part of the long game. But the short game is to just overturn everything and then deal with it from that point forward. Because if you look at, and again, I'm just breaking this down from the Republican side or the right side, the Democrat side. In a lot of ways, it doesn't really matter. But from the Democratic side, there's nobody. There's nobody on the horizon that they think that I can see. Like they're going to trot out Bernie Sanders in 2 years. How old is Bernie Sanders going to be? He's older than Trump. I don't think that that's going to be highly effective, to be quite honest with you. Elizabeth Warren? I don't think so. I mean, she's incredibly vulnerable. Hillary Clinton is done. She may harbor some desire to get back and run again, but her own party is trying to distance themselves from her now. Kamala Harris? I don't think Kamala Harris has the gravitas, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, I know she's got a lot of service in California, but she's pretty shrill, and she'll alienate people. She will alienate people. If you're a Democrat, I mean, maybe that's the game you want to play. You want to find the most polarizing and alienating candidate you can absolutely find. Maybe that's part of the stratagem, but I don't think she's a good call. Oprah Winfrey has way too much baggage in her background. Now, could they create another Barack Obama-like scenario? All of a sudden, somebody just comes in from out of the blue. Now, Barack Obama, I believe, is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime event, to be honest with you. Just like Trump is a once-in-a-lifetime event. We'll never see another Trump, whether you think that there was collusion or that the Russians or Chabad Lubavitch or whomever helped him get in. We'll never see another version of Trump again. And we'll never see another version of Barack Obama again. Somebody who had his almost entire past scrubbed. He's pretty much the opposite of Donald Trump, whose life is, for the most part, kind of an open book. Lived on page 5 in the New York Post, for the most part. So, are they really thinking that they can come in and bring in a candidate and revitalize and reach? So what they're trying to do, because they've realized that in a lot of ways they've lost their base. They've seen, these people are not dumb, they've seen Nancy Pelosi get shouted down by the Dreamers. And somebody who supposedly stands for them. If you haven't seen that video, you should. Now, I know that the Democratic Party, aka CPUSA, have seen that video. And they're realizing that the people who are coming up through the voting ranks have no interest in Nancy Pelosi. They have no interest in people like Dianne Feinstein. They have no interest in people like Barbara Boxer. And whether they're from this country or they're born inside of this country, and they don't really quite have the numbers in terms of being able to make an impact on a national level, unless of course the voting results are rigged, which of course can take place and has and does. So in order to grow that base, they have to bring more people in. They have to continue to radicalize the next wave of voters, which they're trying to do with Parkland. They're radicalizing the youth, mobilizing youth to come out and vote. And the candidates that they will eventually groom to be a part of this next wave of whatever they have are going to be far more radical and far more to the left and far more polarizing, because they know at some point, and this would be maybe part of their long game, at some point the people that voted Trump in are going to die. And these are people in their 60s, their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and to some extent even the 80s. And so they're marking time for when that happens, right? But in the immediate though, this is the short game. And believe me, both of these scenarios are being played simultaneously, and maybe two or three others that I haven't even covered. But that's the long game. The short game being played simultaneously. You throw everything. You've got a card table with cards and chips and everything, and you just throw it up. You throw it over, right? And then basically reset everything. You reset. Oh, who had what? Who had this hand? How many chips did you have? Okay, try to figure that out. It takes a while. Okay, it takes a while. But that's the short game, and the short game is the destabilization process that's taking place. So when I saw what happened yesterday, and here's the deal, right? The profile of the shooter, even though it's not a trans, it's just as weird. And also this was passed on to me by Alice. Like, should I transition into the actual event itself? Maybe I should. Anyway, let me just finish this one piece. Is that we're headed towards something, and it's not that far in the future. I think we're looking at maybe 30 to 60 days, to be honest with you. A significant event. Like, this is not a game. What happened yesterday is not a game changer. And I'm not sure how the media is going to spin this. Because number one, she fits absolutely no profile at all. Well, maybe she fits one profile, which I'll talk about. But it's not like, some guy who, some Alex Jones kind of character, whose videos have been shadow banned or demonetized, and he goes and starts plunking people, and all of a sudden it just fits, right? Like, that's the notch and groove. Like, oh yeah, look, there's the angry white guy. He's got the grudge against YouTube, and he's got a gun. I mean, that all fits. This is weird. Now, there is another piece to this event, which I'm going to talk about. And I may as well segue into this now. So I was sent a little bit on Facebook by Alice. And this is from the SF Gate Twitter feed. And this was yesterday, April 3rd, 4:15 p.m. Salahuddin Abdul Kafi, a hashtag YouTube product manager, said the shooter had a shooting mask on, full body armor, and was calmly walking and firing a handgun. We jumped to the floor, then ran as fast as we could. That came out yesterday. SF Gate, you can go to their Twitter feed, unless they scrubbed it. 107 people are talking about this. Where did we hear something like this before? we heard a very similar description in, cue it up, Parkland, where the teacher who had been shot and grazed said she saw somebody in full body armor with a helmet and a mask on firing a rifle she did not recognize. I'll read this to you again. Salahuddin Abdul Kafi, a hashtag YouTube product manager, said the shooter had a shooting mask on, full body armor, and was calmly walking and firing a handgun. We jumped to the floor, then ran as fast as we could. Yep. Now, that doesn't really square up with the shooter, the alleged shooter. The alleged shooter, I'll read this. This is the New York Post. The crazed woman who opened fire at YouTube's headquarters for killing herself. Of course, they always got to kill herself. Right? I'm going to kill myself. Do you know what it takes to kill yourself? Put a gun to your head. I mean, the preservation for life is pretty strong, to be honest with you. But I guess if you have the suicide program, maybe it's a lot easier. The crazed woman who had opened fire at YouTube's headquarters before killing herself had been found by police snoozing in her car the night before the attack after her family reported her missing, according to a report. Now, her YouTube videos are wacky, quite bizarre. The father of 38-year-old Nazim Agdam told cops that she might be going to YouTube's sprawling campus near San Francisco because she hated the company. Have you ever noticed that there's always the calling of the cops? It's like Elliot Rodger's father called the cops. Peter Rodger, he called the cops, told them, well, my son is disturbed. For all his money and all of our family prestige and his impish good looks, he still can't get laid, so he wants to go kill some women. Which is totally ridiculous, by the way. I'll read this to you again. The father of 38-year-old Nazim Agdam told cops that she might be going to YouTube's sprawling campus near San Francisco because she hated the company. Mountain View police told the family at 2 a.m. Tuesday that everything was under control after they found a disgruntled woman sleeping in a parking lot about 39 miles from the YouTube site. Officers made contact with the woman after the license plate of her vehicle matched that of a missing person out of Southern California. Police spokeswoman Katie Nelson said the woman confirmed her identity to us and answered subsequent questions. At the conclusion of her discussion, her family had been notified that she had been located. Okay. If you're a cop or a police officer and you've been told that this woman had a grudge against YouTube and she was found in her car sleeping, and here's where it gets tricky, right? Because now we're into like detaining people, which is another part of this piece, which we talked about after Parkland. They have that the Baker Act. They're allowed to snatch people now if they think that they're a threat. So now they let her go. It's like, okay, well, you're a crazed woman and you're sleeping in your car by yourself. Go ahead. You're okay, even though, certainly you're a bit suspicious. In America, like, that's part of the deal, right? You may appear suspicious. I'm not advocating that everybody looks remotely suspicious, or there may be the inkling of some kind of disturbance in the force. that people be taken and held and interrogated. Here's another example where they let another one slip right through their fingers. People are going to say, oh, gee, if only they could have kept her from going. If only they could have kept her from going to YouTube. If only we had a little of that nice pre-crime stuff baked in, so we just take that threat right off the street. Meantime, you got somebody walking around YouTube in body armor. How does this match up? I'm not sure that Nassim Agdam was a body armor enthusiast or collector. It was unclear late Tuesday what authorities knew about Agdam's history with YouTube before she wounded 3 people with a handgun. She was angry. Ismail Agdam of Riverside County told the Bay Area News because the company had been censoring her content. It stopped paying her. YouTubers can be paid for ads accompanying their videos, but the company demonetizes some channels for various reasons, which means ads are not run with, by the way, you know who's going to jump all over this? Alex Jones. He's going to love this shit. Love this shit. They're going to be chuckling over at InfoWars today. A woman, and apparently, looks to me like she's probably Islamic, although she could be a Christian. I don't want to categorize her just because she's looks like Persian. She speaks Farsi. Let's see what else we have here. Agdam's father, who owns an electrical contracting company, said the family was unaware that she owned a gun. Maybe she bought one recently, he said. Nassim's brother, Sharon Agdam, told reporters from the family's home in Menifee that the family came from Iran. There we go. Came to California, Iran in 1996. She was always complaining that YouTube ruined her life. He said Nassim, who had been living with her grandmother in San Diego, was missing since Saturday and not answering her cell phone. When he found out she was in Mountain View, he Googled the city and found out it was near YouTube's headquarters. He said he called police who found her and said she was fine and that they would keep an eye on her. What the hell does that mean? Keep an eye on her. You're going to tail her? Are you going to mount a camera in her car? Investigators were looking into whether Agdam may have been targeting a boyfriend, a law enforcement source said Tuesday afternoon, according to the news outlet. San Bruno police late Tuesday said only that investigators were trying to determine her motive. Said only that investigators, whatever. So I don't know what that sentence means. At this time, there is no evidence that the shooter knew the victims of the shooting or individuals were specifically targeted, the department said in a press release. One of the victims, a 36-year-old man, remained in critical condition. A spokesman for San Francisco General Hospital said a 30-year-old woman was in serious condition and a 27-year-old woman in fair condition, the spokesman said. Ismail said his daughter was a vegan activist and animal lover who would not even kill ants that invaded the family home when she was a youngster. So why would she take a human life? Because vegans are radicals? According to state records, she once established a charity called Peace Thunder, Inc. to educate people about animal cruelty, environmental pollution, and other causes. For me, animal rights equal human rights, she told the San Diego Tribune at a People for Ethical Treatment of Animals protest in 2009, so she's got a history. Agdam's YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram pages have all been removed since the shooting, but not before reporters were able to view much of her content. On March 18th, she slammed YouTube in an Instagram post. All YouTube channels got filtered by YouTube, so all my YouTube channels got filtered by YouTube, so my videos hardly get views, and it is called merely relegation. This is also happening to many other channels on YouTube, she wrote. This is the peaceful tactic used on the internet to censor and suppress people who speak the truth and are not good for the financial political gains of the system. Big businesses. I recently got filtered on Instagram too. And maybe it's related to YouTube, and YouTube staff asked Instagram to filter me there too. Exclamation, exclamation, question mark. On January 28th, Agdam recorded a video of herself complaining about her perceived discrimination by YouTube, which she said had determined her ab workout video was too racy. I'm being discriminated and filtered on YouTube, and I'm not the only one, Agdam says, as she stands in front of a background of green and white stars. They age-restricted my ab workout, a video that has nothing bad in it, nothing sexual. The green and white stars clearly look Islamic, so there's an Islamic sort of cast and tint to this. We have an Islamic woman, vegan, animal lover who's the shooter. What kind of profile does that fit? It's not quite as creepy or weird as the transsexual, transvestite that was memeing for a while and got picked up on early, but it's a close second. It's a close second. And that's if she even did the shooting. And I have, again, could she be involved in the, body armor shooter also be involved? Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. And who knows what happens to these people? Who knows how we're stimulated, tweaked, and twerked? Some of it is really direct. Sometimes people can be really manipulated psychotronically. It happens. They have voice-to-skull technology. People hear a voice that tells them to do certain things. Frequencies change behavioral patterns. Chemical charge in the brain. It alters all of that. And could she have been under that kind of effect? Based on the fact that her videos weren't making any more money. Apparently she had a lot of views. How does that happen? She had millions of views on some of her videos. I'm struggling to get 400. I think, to be quite honest with you, the YouTube numbers for my reposts on the streams, I think they're not real. Because I get a lot of feedback from people I don't even know that say they listen to me every single day. And it's like, well, okay. Maybe I'm just getting feedback from the same 400 people. I don't know. But this is not about me. This is about her and what happened. So how is the media going to spin this? Well, first of all, she's of Iranian descent. Keep that in mind. This is important because who's on the hot seat? It's Iran. Iran is on the hot seat. Theoretically. There are people who are deeply steeped in these international shenanigans. Basically say everybody's sleeping with each other and that there is no boogeyman out there. That Iran and Israel and Turkey, they're all just in bed with each other and it's all just an act. I don't really have a problem with that. However, what's given to us and how it foments our emotional and psychological state, how we react, and all the other things that are associated with it, well, it's like, I've used this analogy before. It's like there are really basically two ways you can catch fish out in the ocean. You can pole catch fish, or you can net catch fish. So when you cast a net, what do you get? You get a lot of different kinds of fish. You get some fish, you get some crab, whatever. And let's say you're really going for, I don't know, cod, Alaskan cod. You're in the Pacific Northwest. You throw your net out, and you'll get some cod, you get some mackerel, you get this, you'll get that. You'll get things that you're really not. It's not bad. You'll take it. Okay, well, we've got 20 mackerel in that haul. We can use it. We do this every day. We'll just continue to fill the mackerel bucket, right? The mackerel box. What you're really going after is the cod or the halibut or whatever. This is what happens sometimes. This is what happens. They cast a net, and next thing you know, you've got somebody who has been tweaked, stimulated, agitated, maybe even directed, and they're caught in the net. Meanwhile, there's another thing going on. Anyway, she's from Iran. So you see that, right? That image, very clearly, it's green, it's black, the stars, she's Persian looking. Now, people will file that away. They'll file that away. And she will have absolutely nothing at all to do with the nuclear treaty or whatever it is that they're dancing around and, pissing and moaning about. But they'll remember her, at least on some kind of subliminal level. It's all part of the programming. It's all part of the programming. And of course, Alex Jones will clearly take note of this. He'll clearly take note of the fact that, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because this is an unusual character that doesn't fit the so-called demographic, although I do believe that there is some reason why I believe she was either chosen or nudged over that edge. Again, I'll read you the tweet from the SF Gate. Salahuddin Abdul Kafi, a hashtag YouTube product manager, said the shooter had a shooting mask on, full body armor, and was calmly walking and firing a handgun. This is not this woman. We jumped to the floor, they went as fast as we... This is not this woman. Her parents... This woman couldn't even kill an ant. How is she going to kill a human? Something triggered her, something nudged her, something pushed her over the edge to even get within a 45-mile radius of YouTube in San Bruno. Meanwhile, the anti-gun advocates will have their day. They will loudly proclaim that, yes, here's another example of a person who should not have been allowed to have a gun. How did they get the gun? I don't know. Why don't you check the public record? How's Nassim Agdam going to get a gun? I'm sure you've got to go through a very, very explicit background check to get a gun. I'm sure they must have a record of her getting that gun. Somehow I doubt it. How does a woman like Nassim Agdam, who is a kooky, eccentric vegan, go get a gun? She's in San Diego, right? But all of a sudden, what does she do? Does she go down to, Imperial Beach, which is a largely Latino community? It's one of those first areas where the drug cartels kind of move in, cross the border, right? She must think to herself, oh, I could go pick up a gun down in Imperial Beach. That's where the drug cartels are. No questions asked, man. Doesn't strike me as that kind of person. Of course, they kill themselves. The whole thing is just completely and utterly bizarre. But like I said, happened in the workplace. And they'll politicize this thing and they'll run with it. Next level of... Now, it's a handgun. Before we had an assault rifle, or at least an AR-15, which is really not quite an assault rifle. Sounds like the one. Sounds like AK-47, which is kind of an assault rifle. Now it's a handgun. Check that box. Anyway, the next 24, 48 hours is going to be very interesting, to say the least, as we navigate through this. Yet another event. I didn't want to be right, It's not. I just tell you what I see. That's what happened. But I do believe now we're in a very, very short and compressed time frame. That much to me is pretty clear. I think we're in a 30 to 60-day zone right now where something of intense significance will probably have to occur. Well, I don't think it has to occur, but I think it could be on the table. It could be on the table. Because remember, the game that's being played simultaneously is long and short, and they'll take any scenario, right? Any scenario. And we may have another event here in the next 48 hours, 72 hours, which takes us very quickly off of what happened at YouTube and onto the next thing for disorientation purposes. I show you a little time tunnel. Let's do it. Well, first of all, let me get up. Let me get the day up. Let's go. Let's see. Here we go. Let's just take a step outside of the chaos of the day. Let's step into Okay, well, today is April 4th. As we take our long journey back into history through the mists of time, some very important events begin to emerge. In 1147, 1147, on this day, it is the first historical record of Moscow. Happy birthday, Moscow. In 1581, Francis Drake is knighted for completing a circumnavigation of the world. How about that? Let's see what else we have. Napoleon, this is 1814. Napoleon abdicates for the first time and names his son, Napoleon II, as Emperor of the French. Napoleon is an interesting character. Very, very esoteric. Mr. Napoleon had high occult knowledge. Let's see. In 1818, the United States Congress adopts the flag of the United States with 13 red and white stripes and one star for each state. At that time, it was 20. So the modern American flag is born on this day, April 4th. How about that? Moscow, first record of Moscow, and the first version of the American flag. In 1841, William Henry Harrison dies of pneumonia, becoming the first president of the United States to die in office and setting the record for the briefest administration. Vice President John Tyler succeeds Harrison as president. In 1850, Los Angeles is incorporated as a city. Isn't that interesting? Los Angeles and Moscow. They should be sister cities. Maybe they are. At least in spirit. Let's see what else we have here. In 1866, Alexander II of Russia narrowly escapes an assassination attempt by Dmitry Karakozov in the city of St. Petersburg. In 1873, the Kennel Club is founded, the oldest first official registry of purebred dogs in the world. I used to go to the Kennel Club in San Francisco. A lot of good bands that played there. What else do we have on this day? In 1933, the U.S. Navy airship, the USS Akron, is wrecked off the New Jersey coast due to severe weather. 1939, here's some Iranian or Persian news. King Faisal II becomes king. Oh, that's Iraq. Sorry, not Iranian. King Faisal II becomes king of Iraq. Let's see what else here. Oh, interesting. The CND peace symbol is displayed in public for the first time in London. 1958, under the sign of Aries, the peace symbol is born, rolled out. The broken cross. Let's see, in 1964, the Beatles occupied the top 5 positions on the Billboard Hot 100 pop charts. On this day, 1968, Martin Luther King, killed by, theoretically, James Earl Ray. In 68, on the same day, Apollo launched, or NASA launched Apollo 6. Wow, this is kind of an amazing day. Check this out. 1973, the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center are officially dedicated. So we have, this is interesting. So we have Moscow, the first recorded date of Moscow. Los Angeles is incorporated as a city. The first version of the American flag debuts on April 4th. Martin Luther King is killed on April 4th. And the Twin Towers are they're dedicated. And I'm about halfway through the list today. There's more. Oh yeah, you knew there was more. 1975, Microsoft is founded as a partnership between Bill Gates and Paul Allen in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we have the Leviathan of Microsoft, Moscow, Los Angeles, the Twin Towers, Martin Luther King, all in this day, April 4th. We're not done yet. Not done yet. What else do we have? Uh, 1994, Mark Andreessen and Jim Clark found Netscape Communications Corporation under the name Mosaic Communications Corporation. That is actually a really important partnership because they're the ones that come up with the first commercial browser that allows people to get on the internet and move around the internet. So it's interesting. We have the inception of Microsoft, which is, for all intents and purposes, the mass production of home computing software, which is loaded onto any number of computers that can take it, right? Microsoft became viral. It really overtook Apple in terms of the operating system because anybody could use the Microsoft software. Any computer, if you were making a box, you could plug it in. With Apple, it was proprietary. 2 very different models. But it was widespread, right? And here we go. 1994, Andreessen and Jim Clark really formed the company that creates the first internet browser. Those are the big events. Those are the big events. It's a pretty big day. There's a lot happening historically today. Oh, not only that, check this out. I just kind of skimmed this over. 1949, today's the birthday of NATO. Wow. April 4th, historically, there's a lot going on. Now, we know April 3rd, we had this little shootout in San Bruno. Any interesting birthdays that I should be aware of on this day? Oh, let's see. Bobby Ray Inman's birthday is today. I think isn't today Heath Ledger's birthday? Pretty sure today is Heath Ledger's birthday, if I'm not mistaken. Jack Del Rio, coach of the Raiders. Happy birthday, Jack. Although he's no longer coach of the Raiders. That's John Gruden. Got to keep up with this stuff. Let me see. No, I don't think it's Heath Ledger's birthday today. I don't think so. Barry Pepper, the actor. David Blaine, the magician. Who else? Anybody else interesting? Heath Ledger. No, today is Heath Ledger's birthday. Born 1979. 1979. I thought today was Robert Downey Jr. It is. 1965, Robert Downey Jr. Happy birthday. David Cross. It's David Cross's birthday as well today. All right. I think that's going to do for today's show. Okay, here we go. We're here, we're present. Right here, right now. You've been listening to 15 Minutes of Flame as we've been deconstructing the latest event, which happened in San Bruno, California. And what a crazy, wacky, wonderful, weird world we live in. So with that, go forth, create something, seek beauty, tell the truth, be kind to yourself, be kind to another, feed your body, feed it well, feed your spirit, feed your mind, pass it along. Remember, we are our brother's keepers. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say when it's possible. I'm